On live. Hold on. Says Facebook's loading, and I'm gonna load up my comments here while we do that. Hey everyone, welcome. As you're coming on, say hello. I have a friend here today. As you can see, he's drinking out of his coffee mug. What kind of coffee mug is that?
So this is my Michigan State coffee mug. It's a little tattered, it's a little battered, but it's still sturdy. It's kind of like me.
Yep.
Um, Been around the block a little bit, so it's got a few nicks and bruises, but it's still sturdy.
That happens. That happens. But it's good. It's like a solid, large cup of coffee.
Solid. It's heavy in my hand. I like it.
Let's see this cup again. Hold on. I only saw it when you were drinking out of it. Very nice.
It's a little bit bruised.
I see that.
Got a few marks on it, but you can kind of still make it out.
So on the S part of it, I thought that was part of the design to be a little bit worn, like shabby chic, right? Maybe they're
developing actually it is.
Shabby chic mugs for Michigan State. I didn't know.
I forgot. That is actually true.
Okay. But when the logo is also, the Spartan is also like that, probably not the case. It's probably just a little bit worn. You use that one quite often.
It's actually, I got this mug as some kind of graduation gift. So from college a long time ago. So it has truly been around a while. It has been worn. I am shocked that it's not broken because anything I have that long, I break. So somehow it's made the test of time.
Or kids break. Kids break those kinds of things too.
Yeah, I like to blame it on kids.
I like to blame it on kids for sure. All right, let me just turn this down. I'm going to get to our comments so we can say hello. You can hear me. All right, let's pull up the comments here. Hey, good morning, Sarah, Terry, Rod. Hey, all of you. How are you? We got Joe here. We got me here.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone. So this is the first of our Backup Broker series. And we're going to do coffee and conversations about your real estate business. Not you, Joe. I'm not pointing at you. I'm pointing at our people. Your real estate business, because we can. Because why in the world not talk to you about this? We talk to our agents about it all the time. So why not talk to you as a whole group about it?
I'm looking forward to it. We've been going to do this for some time.
Yes, we have. And now finally we're doing it. Let's do some introductions. You go first. Tell me about it.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe Albring. I have been a real estate broker for about 7 years. I'm licensed in Michigan and Ohio. And I got into real estate as an investor and then quickly decided that I should get licensed. And then I've gone down that path and I've been a licensed broker with Key Realty as a state director here for a number of years. And I'm excited to be here. I like long walks on the beach and
I actually don't doubt that. Joe is always at the beach.
That's not true.
I feel like you have hashtag beach life all over your life. Anytime you post on Facebook, he's at the beach. No, I don't think that's true either, but you are at the beach often.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally we like to go get warmed up for a couple of days. And then in the summer, we spend a lot of time at the lake. So yeah, kind of.
That's okay. That's what Michigan's all about. Yeah. It's our third coast.
That's right. And how about you, Tiffany? How about you introduce yourself?
So my name's Tiffany Szakal. In case you don't know how to pronounce my last name, because it's nearly impossible. As short as it is, I'm very surprised how difficult it is. So Szakal is what you say. I'm also a broker with Key. I have not been a broker for 7 years. What was it? 2 years ago, we launched Key in Grand Rapids. So about that. But I've been in real estate for as long as my working career can be, since 2001. And it's been a wild ride. I've been in nonprofit housing development, lending, government contracting. I worked with lots of investors for a period of time, homeownership counseling, like the whole gamut. Title, I did title for, my gosh, forever. So a lot of perspective on these things. And I've seen a lot of weird things, and I've seen a lot of shifts in our market. And I use that word a lot, and I'm not swearing, guys, I'm not swearing. But there's a lot of things that I have done in real estate, and it sounds like you too. And you're not, I just want to give a quick little disclaimer. You're not just an investor, you're an accredited investor, aren't you?
Like yes. Yeah, definitely.
Quite a bit going on there.
Yeah, quite a bit going on there. And it's a lot of fun. I'm very passionate about investment real estate. As anybody who knows me in real estate, you start mentioning rental properties, you got my attention. Because I just don't think that there's a lot better there. I don't really feel there's a better investment, especially for real estate agents. And I'm sure one of our talks down the road will entail that, but absolutely. I love that side of the business. I'm really passionate about it.
Yeah, if you want to see Joe nerd out, just bring up ask him any question about real estate investments, and you're going to be 2 hours later over a beer listening to strategies regarding SEPTA, IRA, 401k rollovers. Like, I don't even know. He hasn't been to class.
I mean, especially after one beer. I mean, it just starts to flow then.
It does. Just comes right out.
It's a lot of fun. So
yes, it is.
Yeah, I nerd out on investment real estate, and you nerd out on marketing.
I do. I was wondering which one of my nerdy topics you were going to pick, but definitely marketing. I love marketing. I think agent branding is so important in this next phase of real estate that we're in. And again, that's something we can talk about down the road. But what we're going to talk about today is, you moved your camera. An interesting topic that we're both in a couple of Facebook groups together, and a couple of them are broker specific. And so one of these comments I saw, it was a post, and then there was a whole bunch of comments from brokers I thought was super interesting, and where we could start, because I think it's an issue with our industry on a whole. So let me pull up my notes here so I can read exactly what that thing was. Okay, here was the post. From a broker owner perspective, what are the main reasons that 75% of all agents fail in their first year and 87% by year 5? I'd love to know your thoughts. Don't answer yet. I don't want to know your thoughts yet, because I want to share what some of those, I will want to hear your thoughts. I want to share what some of these responses were, because they were wide ranging. And I think some of them were blame shifting, and I think some of them were just flat out incorrect. So they ranged from work ethic of the agent to lazy, not hungry, totally lazy, no training support, failure by the brokers to set expectations. The fear of failure is greater, and the fear of rejection is bringing that on. And so I thought those were all really interesting. What do you think the reason is?
Well, I think there are multiple reasons, and some of those, each individual is going to have a reason for failure. Some of which, when I say each individual agent, I mean the agent. Some agents are going to have legitimate reasons for failure because they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. And some failure is going to fall on the agent. But I would tell you that as a broker, I think the brokers are very complicit in the failure of the average agent. And I think they're complicit in it for so many reasons. And we'll try to touch on a couple of the big ones. First of all, anybody who's ever taken their test at a state level, whether it's Michigan, Ohio, or any state, they will realize that there is very little when you take that test and when you take that course that's going to be applicable in the actual field to sell.
Oh my gosh.
It's just not there, right? You're learning to take a state mandated test.
Yeah.
So if the brokers don't step in and show and train and execute a training program on how to be successful, the agents that do become successful are the ones that figure out how to get trained. They go find another agent that can be their mentor. They go pay for Buffini or you name the very high-end training program.
Yeah.
Very few brokerages have a training program. And to me, that is number one miss, because despite commission splits across the country, if you don't have a training program, you have zero sales, you don't make any money. It doesn't matter what your split is. So the number one thing is training, education, and the ability to have it formalized, consistent, and deliverable. And the vast majority of brokerages do not have that.
Yeah.
So that's number one.
I think absolutely you're right on. I remember, and I think I've told you this story, the training at my previous brokerage consisted of us all getting together on Monday morning and going around in a circle and saying who everybody was working with so the broker could add up what he was going to make that quarter. Like that was the training that I thought was training. And then I finally had my first deal and I'm like, I have it under contract. Now what?
Now what? Now what do I do?
No idea. I had no idea that an inspection came next, or that I needed to collect the earnest money, or where to put the earnest. Like nothing. Literally nothing. I had nothing.
Yeah,
it was devastating.
And then even when brokerages do have what they call a train, here's what they mask a training program as. Hey, I'll just train you one-on-one. Okay, I just want to be clear. That's code name for we don't have a training program. Because one-on-one training doesn't work. Are there times where you need to sit down individually with an agent? Yes, absolutely. Situational management, business planning, those kind of things. But that is, if a broker says, yeah, I'll just train you one-on-one, That's code word for we don't have a training program.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're going to end up chasing that broker down for their time, because more than likely they're also a producing broker. Since they don't have anything formalized, they're probably the rainmaker of that office anyway, to keep going. And so you're going to be chasing that broker all the time for individualized training. And that's just not effective for you. That's not effective for them. Here's what I said. Here was my response to that. Failure from the broker to set correct expectations, failure to commit to training from both sides, and a failure to consistently implement by the agents. I think that combination of inaction breeds failure.
Sure. No doubt about it.
What else do you have for advice to be successful?
I mean, number one is training. I would say a secondary position would be when we talk about compensation. So here's a dirty little secret about the real estate industry. It's not the mega producers that make the revenue and keep the lights on. It's the new agents. The new agents at a brokerage are the ones keeping the doors open and the lights on, because they are paying hefty commission splits, franchise fees, admin fees, desk fees, you name it. There ends up being many new agents that I work with that are at other brokerages are not on a 50-50 split. They end up getting 38 to 40% of what they sell. And the truth of the matter is, who can make a living like that? Yeah,
there's that plus additional fees, franchise fees, desk fees, and then the fact that they're still building up their pipeline. I think that goes back to not setting the correct expectations for income, because people get into real estate and they want freedom and flexibility and financial stability, but there's nothing talked about in how to set up your day so you have actual free time, how to be financially stable by consistently prospecting and what methods to go about prospecting, and then what to expect for cash flow. Like, they all think they're going to be millionaires by next Wednesday. And when that doesn't happen, they struggle through it for the appearance that they're doing well. But really, you're right. They're making 35 to 40% of their income.
Yeah. Majority of real estate agents, I guess, take a step back. One of the great things about our industry is that you could come into this industry and have all kinds of different background experiences. You can have an MBA, or you could work as a cook in a kitchen, and your success level could be exactly the same. We have tons and tons of success stories where people came into this industry and they weren't in business even. And that's wonderful. But you have to develop business practices. You are a business owner, you are an entrepreneur. And if you don't develop business practices, you are setting yourself up for failure. It is way easier to go work for a company that mandates that you are at the office every day and you get a paycheck, but it's not as rewarding and you're financially capped. So you have tons of freedom in this industry, but with great freedom comes great responsibility, and you have to align with that.
Thank you for that reference. I appreciate it. Every comic book nerd is nerding out right now.
I know. I'm not even a comic book nerd, but it just kind of seemed like it fit.
It did fit. It did fit. Okay. So number one, I think we're hearing and saying, go to training, commit to training, be a student, be continually learning your craft, because the market shifts. And also you got to get back to foundations sometimes and just get those things in place before you can grow beyond that. Yep. Two, define your prospecting strategy. And I think that's exactly what hits on what you just said. I made a little note. I made notes, of course, in my journal, my notebook over here. Defining your prospect strategy helps you define what your business plan is and making sure that you're running yourself like a business, because you're right. You could go to a 9-to-5 and they're going to tell you exactly how to spend your day and exactly how to spend your time and exactly how much money they're going to give you. You can do all of that. Or you can do that for yourself, but you have to have boundaries to work within to know how successful you actually are at them.
One of my good friends and mentors, Dennis Degnan, has a saying. He says, people who work for a company, they get bailed out every 2 weeks.
Yes, they do.
They get bailed out by a paycheck every 2 weeks. We don't get that.
Yep. Get an accountability partner, I think, is a good one. And not just your broker. I think
actually not your broker. I think most of the time your broker is not the right person.
The broker is busy. I have an accountability program set up, but it's automated. And so if you guys had gone to the business planning section with that accountability part in there, those touch points will be automated based on how likely or how often you ask to be contacted. That's not what I'm saying. Get a real life human being that can be an accountability partner with you and is in some kind of form of similar capacity, maybe not in your same market, but a similar position so you can run alongside of them.
Similar capacity, like-minded goals, not only in business, but in life, because really you don't separate the two. If you want to work 30 hours a week and make, you want to make $60,000, you probably don't want to have an accountability partner with someone who wants to sell 200 units.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for anybody. That disconnect is going to be devastating to somebody.
Correct.
Or it's going to slow the other person down, right? One way or the other, it's not going to work. Yep, I agree. Implementation. I see so many agents being perpetual students. And we talked about training is definitely first, but being perpetual students, they are constantly coming to training, but then they come back and they're still not growing. And you're like, what's happening here? It's the fear of rejection is fear of implementation.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen that too. I have an agent, and wonderful, wonderful people. And I've seen many agents do this, but in one agent in particular that I'm thinking of, been working on her listing presentation for 3 years.
No.
And just trying to get it perfected. The reality is you don't need it perfect.
No.
Nothing's ever going to be perfect. You need it. And I'm not a big fan of this phrase, good enough, but the reality is you need to let it be good enough in your head. It's just certain personality types, the very detail oriented, very, detailed people, they struggle with that, right? That's a struggle. The big picture people like me, they're like, yeah, let's take it, that'll work. So you have to realize your strong suits, your strengths, but you have to get on with it. You have to use it and move on and make adjustments.
Yeah. Be okay with 80%. Like if you're 80% of the way there, just go out and try it and test it and see what happens.
Just go do it.
Just go do it. Do you see me pointing at you guys? Not you, Joe. I'm not pointing at you. You see me pointing past the screen to you? Just go do it. Just go do it. Takes 5 seconds of courage, 20 seconds of courage, whatever you want to say. Just go do it. Go do it. Consistently, not just once, right? You got to do it over and over and over and over and over again.
That's the key.
Yeah. And I like your pun there. That's the key. So maybe it was unintended.
Unintended, but yes.
But it's still the key. There is no way to know if what you're doing is effective if you're not doing it consistently and then measuring what in the world you're doing.
You just hit on something that is another area, and I wouldn't call this an agent failure, initial agent failure, but man, if you don't measure what you're spending your money on, what your return on investments are for your marketing spend and advertising spend, that is a huge, huge miss. How do you track how successful you are if you're not measuring that?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know who keeps messaging me. Are they messaging you or are they messaging me?
I don't think so. I don't have Facebook up.
All right, well, I told you to put it down and look how you listen to me. And look how I'm not. Hold on. Chris Petter, are you listening to me in your car and messaging me? I hear you. All right, let's put that down. He's awesome, by the way. You met him, didn't you?
I think I did, yes.
You guys went to the Lantern.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Lantern down in the basement.
Down in the basement, drinking
I like that place.
In the basement. Sorry, I got distracted because I got a whole bunch of Facebook messages. Apparently, I need to disable that when we're on these going forward. So note for session 2, episode 2, disable Facebook Messenger while you're talking. Yeah, how in the world are you going to know? So let's talk about the Dennis-isms of business planning. Either you have a business plan or you don't. Either you're working your business plan or you're not, or either your business plan is working or it's not. One of those three is a miss if you're doing something wrong, if you're not hitting your goals, right?
100%. And what you're looking for is a very simple term. It's called ROI, return on investment. Is it working or is it not working? And you need to be able to measure it to find that out. Yep,
I completely agree. Okay, good. Last note I have for being successful as an agent. And then you guys, if you have questions, just put them in the comments because I love to answer questions. Joe likes to answer questions. This is why we're here.
This is what we do. We answer questions.
Follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. So many agents don't even make the first reach out. You get an inquiry and you don't even reach out. And then beyond that, the majority of them don't reach out past the first time.
100%. So what do you think, Tiffany, is the most important part of follow up?
Having a system for follow-up. I think if you have your follow-up system mapped out, then there's no question on what you need to do and you don't make it weird in your own mind. Like, I think the reason it goes all the way back to fear of rejection or fear of success. What if they get what they're actually asking for? That's a whole other mindset.
That's a whole nother episode, but that is there.
Yeah. But if you don't have your touch points mapped out for exactly what you need to do next, you're going to overthink it in your mind and then stop yourself from achieving it. Just map it out.
What a system does is it makes it not dependent upon you.
Yeah.
And having a follow-up system, there's only going to be so much low-hanging fruit. You're only going to get so much business the first time you meet with somebody. There's so much out there in the second, third, and fourth meetings. And a lot of agents never get to that point because they say, oh, they didn't want to work with me today, so I'm just going to let that go. When the reality is if they're in a follow-up system, it does it automatically for you.
Yep. And you can delegate that out. And that's maybe a couple of Fridays down the road talking about hiring the right person and delegating those things out. But the first step for that is making sure you have a system, making sure you wrote it out. It will serve your clients better. It will serve you better. It will serve your mindset better. It will serve your family better. It all the way around will be better if you have the follow-up system written out.
Speaking of systems, what I occasionally hear, more than occasionally, is, oh, I didn't remember that, or I didn't forget that. And again, that goes back to lack of systems. You should really try to remember nothing ever. Yeah. And that may seem kind of silly, but the reality is you're busy, you want to get busy, you have a lot going on, write it down, have a place to put notes. We can talk all about different systems at a different time, but you have a system for everything.
Those checklists.
That works. That's not my system. I use it electronically.
I know.
I want sticky notes, but sticky notes are better than not writing it down.
Yeah.
But we'll talk later about systems, but that's what I want to leave you with is try to remember nothing.
Yep. I completely agree. All right. Let's see if we got any comments, or we have several comments. Let's see if there are any questions up in these comments. Hold, please. Take a drink of coffee while I work.
I have been. My coffee's almost gone.
Good. Oh, Melissa has superpowers, I'm seeing. Nerding out over colored pens. Very exciting. Stuart, sup? Stu, hello. Make it easy for yourself. Jim says, hey. Tiffany says, hey. Not me, Tiffany. Other Tiffany. She's awesome, by the way. She came to training last night.
Cool.
Oh. Melissa called me out for the mom finger. I don't think you're seeing the comments right now, but it's really funny. She's calling me out for using my mom finger. You guys, I am a mom. This finger comes out, especially if I had a mom sort of night with my kids, which I did.
I got the mom finger. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I got the mom finger from my wife yesterday morning. She goes, it's cold out. You don't look like you're dressed well enough. And then I just looked at her and she's like, oh, that was a total mom move. Wear what you want.
Yeah, but it's probably true.
I was dressed warm enough.
Uh-huh. Oh, Silas, thank you so much. You don't get to know what he says. You can go back and look later. Chris Coddington says 6 to 12 touch points. That's absolutely correct. I think that's totally appropriate.
Thanks for tuning in, Chris.
Yeah, he's awesome. What kind of coffee are you drinking this morning is literally the only question we have received. So let's hear it, Joe. What do you got?
It is, I don't even know. Oh, it's called, I do know, but normally I don't. It's called Henry's Blend. And I only know that because that's my son. And it was every time I go grocery shopping with him, he requests that I buy that. And yesterday I went grocery shopping.
So who produces Henry's Blend?
I don't know. It's a red bag.
Well,
I like coffee.
Henry's Blend.
I will defer to my coffee snob friend Tiffany because I'm sure she knows exactly what she's drinking today.
I know exactly what I'm drinking today. But first, before we go on, do you cream and sugar? What are we doing here?
Just a little bit of cream. Just a little bit. No sugar. Just a little bit of cream.
So in my Starbucks mug, this is my very favorite mug, you guys. So I will tell you why right now, and then I'll tell you what I'm drinking. This is my favorite mug. I told Joe it before we got started. It's Japanese style. It holds a full cup of coffee, but it's super low and it's wide mouth, which I appreciate. So I get more of the aroma coming up in there. It's a Starbucks mug. And I am drinking this morning Starbucks Christmas Blend.
Ooh,
it was half off at my local family fair, which I say I never shop, but I just told you I got it at family fair, the Starbucks inside family fair. So we got it half off and we had them grind it and froze a whole bunch of them.
You have Starbucks and family fairs in Grand Rapids? Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Now we know. We sure do. And just black. I just drink super dark roast black coffee.
Cut it with a knife.
cut it with a knife. That's, you know what? We're going to go down this for just a second. Melissa has asked another question, which I appreciate. But we're going to go down this path for just a second. Grand Rapids has a little bit of a weird tea coffee culture. Here's what I'm saying. The coffee that they produce in Grand Rapids at the local shops, they make tea-like, because that's how apparently Midwesterners like their teas, or their coffee is tea-like. I hate that. I'm like, give me the coal miner's coffee. Make it thick. I want to be able to cut it with a knife. I want it black as the night. So that's where I'm at with coffee. Okay, Melissa asked a real
life question.
A real estate question. How long do you test your system before you know you should adjust? My quick answer is 3 months. What's your answer?
I would say 3 months is about right. As far as the system, from a marketing standpoint, if you start paying for marketing leads, something like that, I think you want to give it more like 6 months.
Yep. Now, yes, for the system of it. However, if there's a piece of content in the marketing that's just not producing, you can see that within 2 days.
100%.
Like what's that look like in 2 days? And if it's not working, adjust the content. Don't adjust the strategy, adjust that one piece of content.
Yep, 100% agree.
I delete stuff if it's not working. I don't want those poor performers on my stuff. I'm like, well, that sucked.
And sometimes, some agents will hear you say that and they'll say, well, gosh, that would be so horrible. What if I sent something to somebody and it offended them, or it made me look goofy? Guys, you got to get over that, because you're never going to know. First of all, you're not going to please everybody. Secondly, you got to send something sometimes to see if they do work. Look at it on the other side. If you never send it and it's magical, how do you ever know that?
Exactly. You don't know which piece is going to take off. I mean, there are a couple strategies behind success, but sometimes you just get flops, and that's okay. I have had some real hardcore failures with marketing. And I think you've seen a lot of them. The biggest failure that I've had recently is we switched over systems, right? We moved to KV Core. And so I moved all of my stuff, all of my people to KV Core, and I built some follow-up touch points in KV Core. And what you can do in there is put the recipient's name. So you can have the template for what it is, but you can put the recipient's name right there. So it auto generates to like, hey, Joe. I sent out nearly 1,200 emails on this auto drip thing that all said, Dear Tiffany.
I've had a big failure too. What is the system where you can send like thousands of voicemails at one time?
Slide dial.
Oh yeah, I use Slide Broadcast. So I use Slide Broadcast, but I accidentally sent it twice.
Whoops.
So yeah. So they got back-to-back identical messages from me. So clearly they all knew that it was an automated system. I got some really nasty responses, but what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? You just try it out and you say, well, that sucked. Like, that's legitimately what I say. I say it in my head. I say it out loud. I say it to other people that have a failure. That sucks. What are you going to do about it? Move on.
We're still alive. We're still okay. Yeah. We're still moving business forward.
Everybody's fine.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's all right. You just say, oh, well, yep, sorry about that. That was super weird for you and for me. Now we're moving on. Now we are moving on. Okay. Tiffany says she totally sent an accidental email to everyone, lenders, colleagues. It was completely embarrassing, but it started a lot of great conversations. And I think that's what it does. It opens up a dialogue. Jean says she loves the 30-day challenge, by the way. That is a separate group that's not in this group. However, I am thrilled that you love it. And I think there's a lot of people that are participating that are not saying it in the comments that they're done, but I've had such really, really, really good feedback in-person conversations about that. So I'm glad that you guys are getting the tools that you need for that. Okay. Question. Cold outreach is the devil. Cold outreach is the devil is not the question. That's a statement. But I know I need to do some. What are your tips for making those connections? Joseph.
Cold calling is challenging, and cold calling is not for everyone. But there's a reason why people do it, and because it can become successful, but it's a numbers game. So you have to apply yourself and time block and do it. And you have to also measure the behaviors and measure the action. So the question is, when you're out there doing it and you're not getting any results, is it lack of effort, or is your content or your messaging off? So you have to be prepared to do that. In our business, I think there's a few places where cold outreach makes sense. I don't think there are big teams out there that will just dial through a phone book, They will really, truly just dial through a phone book. And I don't think that makes sense for a lot of people. However, cold outreach for FSBOs and expireds, if you want to make that part of your business, which very few agents do, can be a successful strategy.
Yeah, I think when you are looking at cold outreach, you're right. It's a numbers game. And if you are already scared of rejection, it is a statistical amount of rejection that you have to get through in order to get to that. So that can be overwhelming to overcome. What I would do if I was cold outreaching, which is what I've done when I've built my cold outreach campaigns, is say, what's the end goal and what piece of value or content can I give them to get to that point where I would want to receive it on that end if I was receiving that piece of cold outreach. So right. LinkedIn is a great place for cold outreach because they are set up for professional connections. Facebook, the same thing. Just add value and content first, and then do the ask in the way that you would prefer to be contacted.
Yeah, I get a lot of agents to say, I want to make my sphere of influence bigger. I'd like to connect back with the people I went to high school with, but I haven't talked to them in 8 years or 10 years or 25 years. And Facebook is a great way to warm that relationship up a little bit. Because you're right. If you call somebody and you haven't talked to them in 25 years and you're like, hey, Mary, how's it been? You want to buy some real estate? Like that doesn't go over too well, right?
Doesn't go over well. No.
But if you build that relationship through social media, you comment on some of their pictures, you comment on some of their events, you send them a message, and you warm it up for 30 or 60 days, all of a sudden it becomes a little easier and a little different to make that call.
Yep, I agree. All right, I think we had 2 more questions. Would you agree that making the presentation part of who you are when you're presenting, wouldn't you agree that making the presentation part of who you are when presenting? I think Rod is asking if you should include yourself as part of the presentation when you're—
1,000%.
Yeah, I agree. For presentations, specifically listing and buyer presentations, you want to include a bit about you and your company, the market, and what the expectations are for the sale, the process of the sale. And so I make sure I have a skills-based resume in my presentations. It's not chronological order. It's what are the relevant skills that this person needs to know about me that I'm going to do really well on their behalf.
Yeah. You have to ask yourself the question, why do people buy or sell a home with you? And the vast majority of the time is because you build a relationship. They like you, they trust you, right? And so the presentation needs to be as much, maybe not as much about you, but it needs to have a why me section. Yeah. When I was actively selling real estate years ago, in my why me or my bio or my resume page, one of the most effective things I had in there was totally unrelated to real estate. And it said, grew up on a farm. And it was always something that would grab people's attention. And you know what people associate with grew up on a farm with? Wholesome values, hard work, things like that.
Great work ethic.
It does not have to be all real estate. And a lot of you listening to this are brand new. You can bring your relevant experiences in from outside industries. It's okay.
Yeah. Yep. I have, actually, I'm redoing my intro section on Facebook, but I had on my intro section of Facebook, interested in Grand Rapids, community development, real estate, and book recommendations with my phone number on there.
I remember that.
Yeah, there were so many people that would either text me, message me, or Facebook like post on my timeline, book recommendations. There were even people that would text me and be like, Amazon is going to take too long. Go to Barnes and Noble right now and pick up this book. And it's like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Be yourself, you guys. Put yourself out there. Absolutely. All right, let's see. Any more questions? Very true. Bless you. I think that's it for questions. Any final thoughts on this first Backup Brokers episode 1, how not to fail in real estate?
A final thought is as you're an agent, seek out knowledge. Seek out knowledge. You know, the most successful agents that I see in our brokerage and other brokerages, they seek out knowledge. If your brokerage doesn't give it to you, go find it somewhere else. Go find it. You need to get trained. And if you're not getting it where you're sitting, go find it.
Yep. I completely agree. Keep moving forward. That's what I was going to wrap that up with. Just keep moving forward with whatever it is, your knowledge base, your accountability partners, your business growth. Just keep moving forward. Even if you have a flop, keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
This was fun.
Yeah. Thank you for your time this morning. And thanks for all of you guys that joined us. I had a blast. We'll do this again next Friday. Same time.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye.